Today we're embarking on a journey that I think really sits at the core of so much esoteric and metaphysical thought.
Yeah, it's this timeless search for the hidden universal laws that govern existence.
Yeah,
And we're going past the surface level stuff you might see online.
we're going right to the source, or at least the source for the modern world.
We're jumping into the 7 foundational principles of Hermetic philosophy.
And that journey begins with a surprisingly modern document that claims to summarize some profoundly ancient wisdom. The principles themselves are attributed to the mythical Egyptian sage, Hermes Trismegistus.
Right, the thrice great.
Yeah, exactly. But the text that really codified these 7 principles for us today is the Kybalion. It's this slim, pretty esoteric book that was published anonymously in 1908 by a group calling themselves the Three Initiates.
It's such a fascinating artifact, isn't it? It comes out of that whole new thought movement, but it claims to be this ultimate distillation of Hermetic teachings on reality, on consciousness.
And it just became an instant classic in those circles, in occult and spiritual groups. I think because it stood apart from any single dogma or religion,
It tried to be universal.
its mission was incredibly clear, almost you could say daring. The book states, and I love this quote, "The principles of truth are 7. He who knows these understandingly possesses the magic key before whose touch all the doors of the temple fly open."
A magic key is exactly what we're after. So our mission today is to quickly, but thoroughly unpack these 7 principles from mentalism all the way to gender.
And we want to show you how they function as these universal laws.
And critically, how they were sort of filtered down and maybe even simplified to become the basis of a lot of modern manifestation and self-help practices. So let's start at the beginning.
Let's do it.
Okay, we dive into the source of all things with Principle 1, the principle of mentalism. It states, simply, all is mind.
This is the absolute bedrock of the entire system. It asserts that the all, you can think of that as God's spirit, the source is mind.
Okay.
And therefore, the universe itself is mental. The physical world we see, the matter, the energy, the planets, it's not a concrete thing in the way we usually think about it.
It's more like a projection.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
essentially a living, vibrating mental projection that's governed by this universal mind.
So everything we perceive is what, like a thought in the consciousness of the divine. But here's where I think we need to stop and really differentiate.
Go on.
Does this mean my mind creates the universe? Because that's a really common modern simplification,
That's an absolutely crucial distinction. And yeah, the original texts are very clear on this. Your mind is a finite mind. It's a small part of the universal mind.
So I'm not creating the cosmos with my thoughts.
No, but you are a co-creator within it. Your thoughts aren't just these fleeting little events. They are blueprints that shape the corner of this mental reality you inhabit. As the sages said, the finite mind is the builder of your personal experience.
And that's it. That concept, that existence is mental. That's precisely why mentalism is the ancestor of modern manifestation, isn't it?
It has to be. It teaches that mastery over your mind is the first step to mastery over your life. If the universe is built on thought, well, then you use thought to remodel your own life conditions.
So the application for you, the listener, is that practices like deep visualization or affirmations,
Or sustained meditation.
they're not just psychological tricks. They're attempts to interface directly with the universal mind, to transform things from the inside out by aligning your little blueprint with the bigger reality.
Moving from that huge concept of mind, we connect all the parts of the universe with Principle 2. Correspondence.
This one has probably the most famous phrase in all of Hermeticism. As above, so below.
Yeah, everyone's heard that one. This law reveals the universe's fractal nature. It means there's always a relationship between the laws of the macrocosm, the spiritual plane, the cosmos, and the microcosm.
The physical plane, our personal lives, even the subatomic world.
It's all a reflection of itself, infinitely.
The insight there is that, the patterns of the stars might mirror the movement of electrons, or that the cycles of nature echo our own emotional rhythms.
It gives us a method for understanding the unknown by looking at the known, which is just, it's a brilliant tool.
It also gives us that powerful personal directive, as within, so without.
Oh, yes.
So if your outer world feels chaotic, this principle suggests you need to look inward for the corresponding chaos. If you cultivate a stable, peaceful, ordered inner world.
The outer reflection of your life tends to follow. It moves towards stability.
It's like an intellectual shortcut built right into reality itself.
And this mirroring reality is always active. It's never static, which leads us straight to Principle 3. Vibration.
The idea here is that nothing rests. Everything moves, everything vibrates.
which for an ancient text is an incredibly prescient concept. I mean, modern physics confirms that all matter is ultimately just energy in constant motion.
Right, but the Kybalion taught that all things are energy, and they just differ in their rate of frequency. So solid matter is just energy vibrating at a really low, dense rate.
Exactly. And spiritual realities vibrate at a supremely high, almost infinite rate. And crucially, your emotional and mental states are also vibrations.
No, that's key.
It is. Love, joy, peace, those are high-frequency states. Fear, anger, resistance, they vibrate at a much lower, heavier frequency.
So that gives a kind of technical explanation for the popular idea of raising your vibration.
It does.
It's not just poetic language, it's an energetic tuning. If you change your internal frequency, you literally change what you resonate with and what you attract, because similar frequencies naturally connect.
The self-tuning application is profound. The Hermeticist uses practices, whether it's music, meditation, positive affirmations, not just to feel better, but to deliberately modulate their frequency.
And that enables this thing called mental alchemy.
Which is the cornerstone of the very next principle.
So now we move to the principles that deal more with duality and the dynamics of flow. We're starting with principle 4, polarity. The guiding statement is, all paradoxes may be reconciled.
Polarity is all about the spectrum. It teaches that everything manifests in these dual aspects, light and dark, hot and cold, love and hate.
Okay.
But, and this is the important part, they are not separate things. They're identical in nature, just distinguished by degree. Think of a thermostat. Hot and cold are just different points on the continuous scale of temperature.
So the takeaway is that every truth is a half-truth. And if you can view a situation from a higher plane of perspective, the opposites actually merge into one unified concept.
And this is where that practice of mental alchemy gets its power. Because opposites are just different degrees of the same thing, the Hermetic master can, in theory, transmute a state by deliberately shifting their mental focus from one pole to the other.
So if you're experiencing intense fear,
the potential for courage, or even just peaceful neutrality, already exists on that exact same mental spectrum.
So the application for you isn't about ignoring the fear, but about using your will to consciously traverse that emotional spectrum.
You're actively shifting your mental state by focusing on the opposite quality. And that's much more active and, frankly, more difficult than just positive thinking. It's the demanding work of internal transformation.
The constant dance between the poles, it's captured by Principle 5, isn't it? Rhythm, or everything flows.
Yes. This law governs the cycles and patterns in all things. The ebb and flow of tides, the seasons, the rise and fall of civilization.
And our own emotional swings.
Absolutely. The core mechanic is the pendulum swing. Movement to one extreme will inevitably be compensated for by an equivalent swing back. Rhythm is always seeking balance.
This is where I think people struggle the most, feeling helpless as life moves them from a high phase to a low one.
Of course. The insight here is to understand that the cycle is natural and inescapable. This, too, shall pass, is basically a Hermetic truism.
But I have to challenge this a little. If we're supposed to be the master of cause, how can we master an inevitable cycle? Is the Hermetic teaching just about acceptance, or is there a way to actually transcend that pendulum swing?
That is the critical deep dive question right there. The Kybalion says the master doesn't fight the rhythm.
Okay.
Instead, they learn to use the principle of polarity alongside their knowledge of rhythm. By applying their will to the mental plane, they effectively neutralize the impact of the pendulum swing on their consciousness.
Oh, interesting. So the cycle still happens?
The cycle physically manifests. The good times will still end, the bad times will still come. But their internal state remains centered, detached from the emotional extremes of that swing. It's an internal rising above the fray.
That makes so much sense. It's not about stopping the pendulum. It's about choosing not to ride it.
Precisely. And none of these swings or flows happen randomly. That brings us right to Principle 6. Cause and effect. Nothing happens by chance.
This law asserts that everything is interconnected in this immense, complex chain of causation. Every effect has a definite preceding cause.
Yeah, the Kybalion just dismisses chance as law not recognized.
Which is incredibly empowering, but also a little daunting.
It is. It echoes Eastern ideas of karma, but fundamentally it just means there are no accidents. Even what we perceive as luck or coincidence is just the ripening of past causes in unexpected ways.
The application here is a profound call to absolute responsibility. We're invited to reject that role of being a mere effect, a victim of circumstance, and see ourselves as causes.
By using conscious intention and action, we become the active architect of our destiny, co-creating with the universal mind. It demands that we scrutinize our intentions, recognizing that every thought and action sends a ripple out that will eventually return to us as an effect.
And finally, we get to Principle 7, gender. This is the last one, and often the most esoteric. Gender is in everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles.
And we have to be super clear here. This has nothing to do with physical sex.
Right.
It's about the fundamental dual aspects that are necessary for any creation. The masculine principle is active, projective. It represents will, initiation, the giving of form.
And the feminine principle is receptive, nurturing. It represents imagination, intuition, the birthing of ideas.
We see this everywhere, the seed in the soil.
The proton and the electron, logic and intuition.
Exactly. Creation only happened through the dynamic interplay and balance of these two forces.
So the lesson for us as individuals is that true inner equilibrium requires integrating and balancing these two energies within ourselves.
We have to balance our action with our receptivity, our logical will with our creative intuition. This inner sacred union, known mystically as hieros gamos, is the key to full creative expression and spiritual growth.
It's truly remarkable how this ancient wisdom, consolidated in this one little book in 1908, just managed to leap into the mainstream.
It really did. The Kybalion basically acted as a foundational philosophical text for the burgeoning New Age and self-help movements through the 20th and 21st centuries.
It gave them the vocabulary for transformation. But here's where the deep dive is so necessary. The mainstream absorbed the laws, but it often simplified the mechanics, didn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, take mentalism. It became the foundation for positive thinking and law of attraction books like The Secret.
Right.
But where the Kybalion taught this demanding mental alchemy, the active transmutation of mental states through disciplined will popular books, simplified it to, passive wishing or just positive vibration.
They neglected the disciplined work of shifting polarity.
Exactly. If you just read the self-help summary, you might think you just need to feel good. That's vibration, to attract things.
But the Hermetic teaching is so much more demanding. It says you have to consciously use your will, the masculine gender principle, to maintain internal composure.
That's rhythm neutrality.
And actively transform your mental state, which is polarity. And by doing all that, you set the right cause.
The whole system is meant to work together. And because these principles offer this cohesive, practical, mystical roadmap for controlling one's inner and outer reality, they become a major influence. They sustain that belief that our minds create reality and that we are, in fact, reflections of the cosmos.
So our deep dive has revealed this highly organized, non-random universe that is mental, connected, vibrating, dual, rhythmic, lawful, and gendered. And by internalizing these 7 laws, you are given the key to unlock a higher level of conscious experience.
Indeed. And that leads us to the ultimate, I think, provocative thought from Principle 6, cause and effect. The real work of the Hermetic seeker isn't just about understanding these laws. It's about applying them to transcend the common human experience.
You mean how the average person lives life as an effect, constantly reacting to the tides, the pendulum swings, the actions of others?
That's it, exactly. But the true path, the path of transformation, is the shift toward becoming a master of cause.
From reactor to creator.
By applying conscious intention, by balancing your inner energies and understanding the mechanisms of rhythm and polarity, you move from being swept along by the currents of life to becoming the conscious architect who shapes destiny.
That fundamental shift in perspective.
From reactor to intentional creator. That's the reason these 7 principles endure.
So as you navigate the tides of life this week, consider which of these 7 principles, mentalism, correspondence, vibration, polarity, rhythm, cause and effect, or gender, is most relevant to your current challenges. Which one of those keys will you pick up to consciously shape your next experience?